Two of earth. Ptah.
Oh, right. Right, that's a good one. I'm going to have a goddess to balance. So if you want to hold these out, in honour of Sophie, who's no longer with us, except in spirit, she bequeathed me these cards. And they're the goddess traditions. And that's half of humanity, so you can't really be a humanist and not like the goddess. As Robert Graves would agree. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, now, so we've got the two of earth, ancient Egypt, Ptah, who is a pretty awesome god, actually. Do you know about Ptah?
No.
I've come across him. He's one of my favourites, as they all are. But so he's the creator, basically, of this planet in ancient Egypt, and he creates through the power of the word. One of the things I'm very interested in as a sort of scholar is the extent to which the Bible was influenced by Egyptian thought, which is huge. Moses himself trained in the schools of Egypt. And although the Bible we have wasn't written by Moses, I think it had a big imprint from him. And Ptah was the god of the magic of creation, basically. Let me find his text. These illustrations were done for me by a Syrian who came here and did some superb drawings and paintings for me. He's really the divine architect of the universe, and you can see he's got a Masonic emblem on his apron. So the Freemasons of France here, they take Ptah quite seriously, and when Napoleon took his scientists to Egypt, a lot of them were Freemasons, and they all took sketches and came back and created Egyptian lodges in places like Bordeaux and Paris. And there are lodges to Ptah in French Freemasonry called the Grand Orient. And that's when Champollion was able to get hold of the hieroglyphic Rosetta Stone, from which he then translated ancient Egyptian. And so, we owe that to Napoleon, who was himself a Freemason. And really that was about the revival of this ancient wisdom. He was regarded as Imhotep, who's a historical figure, was seen as the son of Ptah. Imhotep is one of the first philosophers, if you want, known in history. He lived in the 27th century BC. That's going back a ways.
It's a few weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, that's further back before Christ than we are after him. And he was an Egyptian chancellor, an architect to the pharaoh Djoser, and was the architect of one of the first pyramids. And he was the high priest of Ptah at Memphis, who then became glorified, divinized long after his death. So now what's interesting is Hotep is the ancient Egyptian word for peace. Hotep. So Imhotep is he who comes in peace. And that was the son of Ptah. Now Ptah wants peace for mankind because he loves all the buildings. He's an architect. He's really annoyed at what's happened in Gaza because, it had some lovely buildings there, like universities and where people lived. A lot of them have been completely destroyed. That's very annoying to Ptah. And another sage associated with him was Ptahhotep, meaning the peace of Ptah, who was another known Egyptian vizier during the late 25th century BC. And he was a city administrator who wrote a book called The Maxims of Ptahhotep. So we have a text which is called ancient Egyptian wisdom literature. And these kind of things influence the biblical book of Proverbs, which is full of wise sayings this is ancient Egyptian wisdom literature. And we know the names of these people. The maxims of Ptah-hotep have come down. Here's a quote. A son who hears is a follower of Horus. It goes well with him when he is heard. When he is old, has reached veneration, he will speak likewise to his children, renewing the teachings of his father. Every man teaches as he acts. Now that's a quote from the maxims of Ptah-hotep, 26th century BC. And it's like the Book of Proverbs, you know. I'd like to see a study done. I call it the Pagan Bible, where we deconstruct the Bible and we see all the pagan influences that have come onto it from ancient civilizations, including Egypt, Babylon, Greece, etc. So anyway, a very important deity. And I'll just add this. This is his epithets include the following. It was said in a hymn to Ptah from the 22nd dynasty of Egypt that he crafted the world in the design of his heart. You know, the inner heart, which is invisible but nevertheless real, is what he created from. And Ptah gave life to all the gods and their cars, which is the souls, through his heart and this tongue. So those are, you know, wonderful sayings. And then here's his epithets. So if you were learning to be a priest in ancient Egypt, you had to memorize all this stuff and then learn how to write it out in hieroglyphs. And there'd be a huge temple. I mean, those are the days, right? Ptah, the begetter of the first beginning. So you now know where the universe came from. Before the Big Bang, there was Ptah. Ptah, the Lord of truth. Ptah, Lord of eternity. Ptah, who listens to prayers. That's good because I do daily prayers here and I'd like to know someone's listening. Now I know it's Ptah. Ptah, master of ceremonies. My friends have just done ceremonies at Stonehenge for, you know, the equinox, and Ptah was there watching because the Druids of Stonehenge days were in touch with the Egyptians. We know they were chums. Ptah, the master of justice. We can think about that as the convoy of Samud goes towards Gaza, which, by the way, was an Egyptian-influenced territory. Ptah, the god who made himself to be God. That's interesting. That's like a koan.
Self-appointed.
Self-created. Self-created. Ptah, the double being. It is an advanced class in Egyptian metaphysics. We'd have to go into all this stuff. And then finally, Ptah, the beautiful face. So, you know, the Egyptians were really good at philosophy, and they kind of invented it in some ways. All the great Greek philosophers went down to Egypt and learned this stuff. And you see in Plato's Timaeus, this demiurge, this creator god, is Ptah under another name. So why does he come into our cards today? Well, I think it's to do with the need for creativity and truth. We should be builders, tekton, not destructors.
We need a bit of quite a few builders now in Gaza.
Well, it's not beyond us. We can rebuild all that. You know, it's just Israel's got to stop bombing it. We don't want to have to rebuild all that and then they do it again. There's got to be a final, firm peace treaty, hands off, leave it alone. That's their place. A peace treaty between Palestine and Israel, and you know, and guaranteed by the great powers that is now protected for the people of Palestine and Gaza. And there's got to be communication, railway or something between the West Bank and Gaza, and also the West Bank has to be left alone. The settlers, I'm sorry, have to go home to where they came from. It's wrong what they've done and are doing with their brutality towards the indigenous Palestinians. So anyway, the Two of Earth is a good card. And yes, in conclusion, Ptah is a rainbow-like god of many possibilities and one big idea, being itself, manifestation. Everything else follows from that first invisible commitment to being. Ask yourself, what is it you're wanting to bring into being? What are you pregnant with? A project, a relationship, a company, an institution, a business? Get the conception right, see it clearly in your mind, and then speak it into being with the right team around you. The rest will follow. And Ptah will be there every step of the way to advise and assist if you but let him guide you. So that's the kind of the reason for this card. So if it's to build a hotel here you want to do it with Ptah energy and it'll happen. If it's world peace, like I want, then let's get on with it, do it, manifest it. Anyway, there we are, so we love him. And then what we have for the goddess again is, we had her before, Freya has come back to our cards today. Now I think that's really great because I didn't really do justice to her last time because this book is a bit thin on the ground, to be honest, and I love it and it's sweet, but I don't think Megan fully understands Freya's importance. She was the goddess of magic for the Norse, Scandinavian people and the Anglo-Saxons. She's the origin of the word Friday, and her name is related to love and freedom, and Friede in German, friendship in English. She wasn't the wife of Odin. We kind of hummed and hawed about that. No, she's technically not the wife of Odin. She was, she had her own husband who was very nice, thank you. He was often not off at sea, but she was very friendly to Odin, but they were equals in their own right. She was a powerful goddess in her own right, just as Odin was. And they were from slightly different lineages of deities. Odin was from the Aesir, and she was from the Vanir. And different students of Norse history and anthropology have argued that maybe the Vanir were even more ancient, and that the Aesir came in later from the east, maybe more sophisticated with battle stuff. But the Vanir knew about love and truth and honour, and so I think. And one of the things that Freya had is this comprehension of magic, which I talked about earlier with with Fraser's study of magic, and I think she gave us the runes, which I use as a rune scholar, and my daughter did. And the runes are based on this same idea of homeopathic magic. So if you get a rune shape, whichever one it is, and we're going to do them next week. We'll have a rune each, okay? The shape of the rune kind of determines the qualities that it's got, and that's a sort of homeopathic thing. And then that talks about a state of being. So the runes argue that all of existence can be divided into these, this different sequence of letter shapes, which then determine reality. It's like a code that we can read. And the magician or the rune expert is able to then say what is the energy that we need to bring in at this time or that time. And that was all Freya's knowledge. So she was an amazing goddess, really. And next week I'm going to bring some runes, and we can do a rune and look at it. Although it won't be next week because I'm off to Britain.
Yeah, you
But
are.
it'll be the next philosophy club.
Next time.
Next time, yes. So anyway, thank you, Freya, for coming back. And it's the other thing about the UN General Assembly is there's some very powerful women there, including the president, this amazing German woman. So Freya's energy is coming back, I think, because the blokes have made a hell of a mess of this planet.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's. Any final comments or questions?
I had something on my tongue, but I swallowed it.
Ah.
It's one of those.
Okay. Well, there are things to think about.
Yep.
And in growing up, I'm just interested in Norway. I mean, when you went to school, did they tell you about the runes and the Norse gods?
Oh yeah, yeah. We had the alphabet in the history.
Right. You learned it.
Not really.
And the different
but-
deities and stuff.
Yeah.
So you would have learned about Freya and Thor.
Yeah, we had some of that stuff.
Right. Did you ever meet any people that still kept that faith going? Like practitioners, as it were.
No.
Asatru, they call it in Iceland.
There was some friends of Bente actually, but I'm not sure if they practiced the Northern religion. There were two Brits, a couple, that came to Norway to live in the Viking village up in.
Okay, so they probably were
Good
interested
line.
in all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, over the years I've met quite a few specialists in this, and they inspired me, you know. And they did Sophie, and it's just tragic that she went and died. She was a rune expert. I've inherited some. In fact, I'll bring one of her rune collections next philosophy club. Yes. Okay. Well, we'll finish there. And I'm going to read a poem to finish. A short poem. This poem is called The Continent of Poetry. Sophie also loved poetry, and I've written a collection of her poems. She would love this one, I think. It's called The Continent of Poetry. All my words came in, squawking like birds, clustering, in a stream flock sheltering, in the overarching trees' green foliage, assembling to astound us with beautiful notes, then songs, elemental and truthful. And we humans here, we mumble the truth in our weekly offerings, our dwindling powers, our trajectory of poet's refuge, hiding out in the woods, scribbling lines, searching mind lights, rearranging so we can mutter and stutter a few clear words amidst the forest of lies. Give us panache, give us style, give us Muhammad's visions, to speak still a few unwhispered words that will contain something of life, for the ongoingness of everything, for hope. Those birds, I'll set them free. And when they don't come back, I'll know they found land of their own. The continent of poetry. I love that poem. Short and sweet. And it makes me think of the Summer Flotilla. They need to send out the birds to find that continent of poetry.
Yeah.